I'm going to explain to you how to sew in your pockets using a French seam, and I'm going to show it to you two ways, and they are optional. So if you don't want to put pockets in, you don't, but us girls usually like pockets. So usually we'll sew circle to circle, open our pocket, and then top stitch, and then stitch around with both our layers together. So we can do that with our French seam, but we can also use another way. If you match your circles like this, and you Scotch tape, and you cut your skirt panel, including your pocket, like this, you can do a French seam which has less bulk at the pocket opening. So let me show you with fabric. So here I included my pocket with my, my skirt panels. I'll put my wrong sides together, so at 3/8, and here I'll pivot, and then I will turn it around, clip my seam, turn it around, and when you do your quarter stitch all around again, here inside you're going to want to clip just to give you like a hinge, and turn and continue your 1/4 inch seam, and it's going to give you a beautiful French seam. So that's one way of doing it. I'm going to show you the way we are going to do it together. Here is one side I already did. So you have a beautiful pocket. That's all French seams, so it's all clean everywhere like this. So we're going to take our side panel of our skirt and match our circles with the circles you have on your pocket piece. So matching them wrong sides together again, because we are doing French seams. So wrong sides together, I'm matching the circles on my skirt panel and my notch to my pocket. So just like you will normally do, except that we're wrong sides together. And I'm going to sew from circle to circle at 3/8. So here, I don't know if you can see it properly, but I have my circle, and I'm at my 3/8 seam allowance. Put my foot down, and I'm going to sew all the way up to my other circle. Okay. Okay. So here, I'm just going to cut my little threads. So I sewed from circle to circle. I'm going to, starting at my circle, I'm going to clip in my seam allowance like I did all my other seams, close to my stitch line. Like this. I'm going to press my seam to one side. And on itself again, like this. And from circle to circle, I'm going to sew at 1/4. I'm going to press my seam towards my pocket like this. I grabbed a little of my seam allowance inside my stitch, so I'm just going to clip it a little more. And here I can just take that out so that my seam allowance is towards the outside. And I'm going to look at the other side too. Here, both of them are okay. So now I have the opening of my my pocket, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And when I look at my pocket, let me put my, like this is the front of my skirt. So the top of my pocket here, you always want to do a little stay stitch so that it stays, the seam allowance stays like really nice and crisp like that. So we're going to look at which one. So the next one, the one we haven't done is the one that's going to be our top pocket. So that one we're going to do a little under stitch. And this one is the one that's the inside. So this one we leave like this. I'm going to attach the other pocket off camera, and after we can continue. So see you in a bit. So we're going to pin wrong sides together, again our side seam, and making sure that our pockets are matching, and pin our side seam. When you get to that little bulk here, what I did is I just like cut the little rectangle excess like this, but I waited at the last minute just to make sure that everything was matching and everything was okay. So you can just chop off that excess like this and match your seams and all around your pockets. Like this, all the way to the hem of your skirt. Okay, now I'm going to go on the sewing machine and sew at 3/8. And you can cheat a little sometimes when you're sewing to make, not to make like sharp corners, so you can round a little your seam, like under the arm. You can just give it a tiny curve instead of a sharp angle. So let's just say I go like this, making sure to match your skirt panels. Okay, so when you get up to the pocket, you're going to sew grabbing the little tails of your pocket. It's going to be hidden inside our seam allowance anyway, so, or front seam, I mean. So you just want to put them a little to the sides to make sure they're not like outside your seam. So just fold them. Let me fold it again properly. So boop, like this, and continue sewing at 3/8. So when you get close to the circle, remember you're going to do a quarter after. So when you get like a quarter from the circle, a quarter inch, you can pivot and continue sewing at 3/8. Okay. Okay, like this. Okay, and here you have to do like a sharp angle. You have no choice, so I'm going to remove my pin, pivot, and continue sewing at, see here my fabric is not placed properly. Okay. And here I'm going to continue at 1 centimeter or 3/8, sorry. I sewed all the way around my side seam. I'm just going to cut my excess seam. Here at the pocket, I cut it really close to my stitches. Same thing around here. So all around my pocket, I really want to leave like a tiny, tiny seam allowance because I have a curve. And when I get to my corner here, like I was saying, like it doesn't look like super clean, but what I do is I cut the seam allowance like really close to my pivot point. I look on the other side to make sure that everything is okay. Here I have a little bit of fabric, so I can just take it out. What you can also do is clip a little at an angle here to make it more like flexible. And you want to be sure not to cut any other layers. So, and we go all the way down the skirt. There we go. And now I'm going to press my seam up to my pocket, and then past my pocket I can do it again. So now the same way I did in the other steps, I'm going to flatten my seam, press it when I get to my pocket. So here I'm okay, you can see that it falls beautifully. I'm just gonna wiggle the fabric between my fingers to have the stitch line right in the middle. And I'm going to press my pocket. I'm going to do the same thing all the way around, making sure not to burn myself. Okay, when I get to the bottom of my pocket, that's the tricky part. So I want to lay everything flat like this. And I want to see how my pocket, here it seems to fall fine. Looks pretty good to me. So I can press the rest of my seam. And if it doesn't fall like you want, you can always undo little stitches here. And now you want to sew, just like we did, at a quarter all around and pivot where we pivoted before, making sure to sew at the circle and pivot and come back again and down the other way. I'll show you a finished one on the other side. So you see my circle there, my other circle is here. So I sewed at a quarter, I pivoted just a little past my circle, all around my pocket, the other side, pivoted again, all the way to my seam. So it's nice and clean. And when I put it the right side, what's really, I think the most important thing is to put your pocket to the front and place it without like wrinkles or anything, like really the way it's supposed to fall. And you want to press your side seam where your pocket opening is and check the beginning of your pocket and the end, making sure it looks nice. So here is your finished pocket with your beautiful French seam.